Hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Yeah, we're going to discuss a topic that's near and dear to my heart as a writer for the Xerox Research newsletter at Blockworks, Multichain DeFi and the quest for yield. Everybody wants that yield. I have an expert on the subject. Pleased to join me here, Altan Tutar from More Markets. And yeah, maybe we can start with a little bit of your origin story, how you got from Near Protocol to Nuffle Labs and now pivot to More Markets.
Sure, yeah. I'm Altan, one of the co-founders of More Markets. We spun out of Near almost a year ago now. We announced our fundraise in June. At Near, I worked as a partner engineer, so what it is like you just go to people and tell what Near is great for, and then ask them to build on Near. But what we really do is at More Markets is to figure out how we can generate yield for what we call idle assets. So idle assets are Bitcoin, XRP, XLM, and you can go all the way down the list that doesn't have that much DeFi utility. And the question we're always asking is like how we can build markets for them on chain, and how we can prove the lending markets that already exist off chain and bring them on chain. So pretty technical team. All four of us from the team are from Near Protocol. We built blockchains before, so understand how smart contracts work really well, how DeFi works really well. So we wanted to apply that expertise to generate yield for idle assets.
OK, let's double click on that. For starting with XRP, what is the core problem that you're looking to solve for XRP holders today?
Yeah, so XRP is an interesting one. It is ignored a lot by the Ethereum community, which we took that to heart. It's something that we see as an opportunity. XRP existed almost started before Ethereum. This does not have any smart contracts. It's trying to build smart contracts now, so there's proposals to build smart contracts, but it's going to take a lot of time. And the asset itself is pretty large, so it's around 120, 130 billion market cap asset with a large FTV. So the problem is there's literally no on-chain yield for XRP. You can't stake it. It's not like Ethereum and Solana, and you can get yield. So what we do is we take XRP deposits on the XRP ledger, bring that to now Ethereum, but could be any different chain, and borrow against that XRP with stablecoins, and then go, just like everybody else in the room that does DeFi, we go deposit that to Morpho, we go deposit that to Aave, generate the yield, and pull that back to the XRP ledger in XRP or stablecoins using intent. So it's a full loop, but it's something that a lot of people are asking for, exchange are asking for, users are asking for to get some XRP yield, and we can get to a small percentage of yield from there. That doesn't exist to retail today, so that's a whole premise.
Can you talk a bit about the trust assumptions in this cycle? Whenever we're doing anything cross-chain, there are sort of several moving parts, and yeah, how do you manage that to try to reduce the risk for the user as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, I was just discussing with someone yesterday. If you look at everything in crypto, it's kind of like a multi-sig, right? There's certain parties that are signing, so there's definitely some sort of you're taking a risk on almost for us at least, you take a risk of an MPC network. We use Near chain signatures, which is 30 different nodes. To collude that, you have 16 nodes to come in and act against you, and they're all KYB'd, so that's pretty hard. The other one, obviously, you're taking is smart contract risk. There are users in XRP and Bitcoin that don't want to take that risk. There are people, though, who are very interested in taking that risk and earning a little bit more. So just to sum the trust assumptions is that MPC network signs as you expect it to, which has been the case, or the smart contracts are fully audited and they don't rug you in a sense. The other one is very important. We do LTV, so 50% LTV, so built around circuit breakers. If there's a very high price fall, which we've seen in crypto, we can unwind the positions and give the tokens back to the user. So those are the probably 3 trust assumptions you're taking.
In the last cycle of crypto, there was a lot more centralized lending. That was one of the only ways to get yield on some of these more siloed assets. And you've described this setup as a better Celsius. But maybe you can explain a bit how you have tried to architect the system so that it's more transparent and that you have safeguards to avoid the situation that Celsius itself found itself in.
Yeah, a lot of off-chain stuff is under-collateralized, and there's a lot of bad lenders that exist in 2022. And people did not understand, obviously, what the risks are on the other side, and then they take the risk. Obviously, retail is taking the risk. That ended up, all the liquidations that happened in 2021, 2022. For us, it's a better version of Celsius because it's fully on-chain, right? You can go to Term Finance today, where we'll start some of the flywheel, and you can see that there's RLUSD there, which is Ripple's stablecoin that we can borrow against. But you can go and you can see in the app that we're building that will launch in 2 weeks, where you can see that where the collateral is going. So it's a better form of like everything is transparent, and you can see where the yield comes from. Versus in Celsius and BlockFi, you didn't see where the yield is coming from. You just go to deposit. But here you can at least progressively see where the yield comes from if you want to learn more. So that's kind of the better iteration of those apps.
Yeah, now I am by no means an expert in XRP and Ripple culture, but I do understand that the XRP army is kind of a force of nature, and I was curious what your views on the culture are, and more importantly, how did that influence your product design and the extent to which you need to provide user education for this product?
Yeah, it was an interesting journey. So like I'm an Ethereum user, I'm a Near user. That's how I started a journey. And when you come from those markets, you know how to use bridges, you know how to use lending markets, you know that you can, you're in 1L2 on Ethereum, let's say Arbitrum, you know how to swap and figure out, use intents to go to another network. That culture does not exist in the XRP holder community. Like, they don't know anything about bridges. They do not know how to swap. So the whole premise of the app, and if you go to our website, you can see there's no bridging. The only thing you need to do is deposit, and then you just press a button, and then you're earning. So that's the idea, that when we are building the app, it all comes with the thinking that XRP holders do not understand how crypto works, right? So it's kind of like more like a fintech app rather than a typical DeFi app that has a bunch of 5-6 different tabs that you have to understand, let's say, what staking is, what all those hard and complicated things are. So that's how we started kind of think through. And the other part is education. You have to educate a lot of people that they can earn, right? They can earn from these assets. I mean, starting with XRP and Bitcoin, and basically like learn that these things, there's lending markets exist. So there's a lot of education to do, but how I would say is like 2018, 2019 Ethereum in terms of culture is that people are interested to learn more. They're learning about AMMs, they're learning about lending markets, but they're not going to be there for the, like, let's say this year, but they'll be there next year. So that's kind of what we're trying to front on.
That sounds like a bit of a heavy lift. So perhaps it begs the question, why start with XRP as opposed to another long tail asset, but one for which the community is more familiar with bridging and yield and DeFi opportunities?
Yeah, Bitcoin is, we looked at Bitcoin first. Bitcoin is very crowded. And I mean, you can just walk around and see that there's a lot of people that are trying to do Bitcoin DeFi, Bitcoin like off-chain, on-chain. XRP is one that is quite not covered by people because it's not cool in the community, although it's still a big asset, right? If you look at, if you can, let's say, lock 1% of XRP, you're getting like 2 billion TVL. That's pretty high. And you're not doing it in the way of like Ethereum people are doing it, which is, you go to a private deal, you do that stuff. You can actually do it on a public. They're holders of that asset. So that was a conscious choice to do it. And obviously, right, you start, it's a strategy, so you can start with XRP, but then you can go to other assets that don't have native staking yield. That's XLM, there's like XLM Bitcoin and Zcash, Bitcoin Cash, all that stuff that are long tail. But that was a conscious choice to make, and yeah, it is quite interesting, and we're seeing a lot of sort of waitlist interest in our app to be able to come in and use the product.
Yeah, how difficult is it to extend to other long tail assets? What kind of technical or even hurdles in terms of the community education do you anticipate?
Technical is pretty easy. Like, near chain signatures can spin up a lot of different accounts. So it is controlled by a near account and the MPC. But as long as you add the cryptographic schemes, you can add a bunch of networks. And a lot of networks are similar in the sense that near covers them all. The main hurdle for on-chain growth is they're not as big as, like on-chain markets are not as big as off-chain markets. And you can see that, and off-chain markets are really hard to report on what the numbers are. On-chain is pretty, you can go to Blockworks research and you can find how big those markets are. That's the main challenge. Second is being able to get into dollars. Like the trend over the last year has been, there's a lot of yield on USDC. There's a lot of yield on maybe some USDT through other chains. So how do you get to USDC and then start earning yield is something that we're looking into. So the optionality is pretty little in a sense. So you just have to do lending. Or maybe if the on-chain yield is not enough, you can do basis trades and like from off-chain. But that's the main challenge I see for growth.
Yeah. Shout out Blockworks Research. Another opportunity, of course, to generate yield is through restaking. Do you expect that will be something you will add, and what kind of time frame could users look to earn yield that way?
Yeah, restaking is a hard one. So there's XRP restaking opportunities on Flare, but it's very early. Like there's a protocol now that can do it. I've been seeing more, not in terms of using the collateral as like almost insurance that I've been seeing, that people are excited that you can actually have real yield. So that's one I see. But for XRP users to jump into restaking is pretty, it'll just take time in our opinion. So lending markets are way more easier. I have been seeing like when we were building infrastructure, we're actually building it for like multi-chain restaking, where you can come in from near and other assets and earn more just top of staking, but haven't been seeing emissions enough to be able to pay for those assets. So we're looking into it. We're really like restaking as a concept. We're still excited about it. It's just going to take time to see real yields to be able to grow.
Yeah. Well, aside from extending to more assets and restaking, what can you tell us about the long-term vision of more markets?
Yeah, more markets, if successful, should be able to take any asset from any chain, should be able to give yield transparently. So it is. You can compare it to Binance Earn, Bybit Earn, and all the other ones that you don't see how the yields come from, but the vision of more markets is to be able to, you come in, let's say you give your NEAR, let's say you give your Zcash, let's say any asset, and you should be able to see how you earn the yield. So fully self-custodial and transparent. So that's where we're going. Starting with XRP, obviously, but going to Bitcoin, going to all the assets that we can. Maybe ETH and Sol, but the competition there is pretty hard, and we want to get to the smaller markets and earn the right to get to ETH and Sol, like staking and all the other stuff that a lot of earning apps do.
All right, and finally, if I'm an XRP holder right now, what should I do to take advantage of this rollout of the mainnet launch?
Yeah, if you're a BTC holder, XLM holder, any of the long tail assets, if you want to earn on them, you can come to More Markets XYZ, join the waitlist. We had a lot of people signed up, and excited to launch in 2 weeks. So we've been working really hard to get some deposits from some individuals, and we're pretty excited about it. I think it's something that nobody has done before, and that's also scary for someone who's building a product, but it's also exciting because if you can hit something, we know the potential that could go to billions. So been working hard for that. So come to follow us on Twitter or More Markets XYZ and join the waitlist on the website.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Macauley.